Good evening, everybody. This is Starfish once again, and today I'll be doing something a little different. Today I would rather be talking about a certain topic rather than about the artwork that I'm doing, because the artwork I'm doing was just a little sketch, drawing, whatever, so that is completely unrelated to what I wish to talk about today. So what I'm going to talk about is the concept and the feelings of validation and why that is very dangerous for an artist. Well, not just an artist, but as in people in general. Like, validation is dangerous to self-worth, and I can explain that on later in the video. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to read out a couple of scenarios, and I'm going to see if you guys relate to it or not. And there's no shame if you do relate to it. It's just, this is something we all go through, and if you do recognize these patterns, this video, well, at least this advice will hopefully help you get out of that. So do you guys ever just post your work online and then within a minute you see someone has liked it, and then you get excited, you get really excited, and you refresh the page and you see that someone else has liked it, and you refresh it a couple more times, and it just keeps going and going, and the number keeps increasing, and after a little couple of minutes, you see someone has hit the retweet and the reblog, and you couldn't be happier. You just get filled with this excitement. What ends up happening now is that you've been sitting there clicking refresh for the past hour, and then you realize, shit, I gotta go do something else now. But as you're doing that other chore, you're still checking the stats. You're still seeing if people are liking what you're doing. And this feeling of happiness you feel when you see someone liking your post, it's because your body is releasing dopamine every time you feel validated. Dopamine is also known as the quick pleasure hormone. It makes you feel good in small doses. And because of this hormone is also related to gambling, drinking, smoking, and drug addiction. Now maybe this is where you see why validation is bad. To a certain extent, it can be considered an addiction. Hitting refresh, watching your posts, watching stats is an addiction. And it's an addiction because once you start to notice the numbers slowing down and coming to a stop, you want that back again. So you're already working on your next piece of artwork. Excellent for motivation, but bad for self-worth. Because this time when you post it, it gets less attention. So one of two things could happen at this point. You notice it gets less attention, it starts to dwell on you, and you decide to move on and make your next piece and see if this one does better. Or it lingers in your mind. Why didn't this do as good? Am I a bad artist? Did I post at the wrong time? Are people getting bored? And with this mentality, you start to psych yourself out like crazy. You start losing the need to produce art because all of a sudden your art and your self-worth are linked. If you believe your art isn't good enough, you believe yourself isn't good enough, and you start this whole cycle of being in a bad place. But that's not the only thing to worry about. You've just noticed your best friend, also an artist, has posted an artwork on their page roughly around the same time. It gets way more attention than yours does. At a ground level, you feel happy for them. You're glad that they are succeeding. But at a subconscious level, you're starting to demonize your friends. Not just other artists that are doing well, but your friends. You're focusing on them because you are starting to feel maybe betrayed, that one day they're going to leave you behind. You start noticing they are gaining more and more popularity, you are not, and you start to feel threatened. Then all of a sudden you come to a realization that you are jealous. Jealousy is an absolute kicker of an emotion to deal with, especially when you feel it towards someone you care about. You've made it to this point of the video, you've realized you're suffering from jealousy, and now you're asking me, Star, what can I do about it? And the truth is, you have to accept your feelings and then train yourself to not think them, or at least stop thinking that your friends are against you, because they're not. Well, hopefully they're not. If your friends are purposely trying to drag you down find other friends. This is all in your head. If you're demonizing your friends because you're jealous of where they're going, it's time to focus on yourself and stop thinking about them. Jealousy to the bone is just a super aggressive worry that you feel. You're worried about something. And once you figure out what you're worried about, that means you can work towards being unworried, if that makes sense. Now, I used to suffer from jealousy real bad, especially in my late teens. Yeah, no, that's pretty much it. Just my late teens. My friends, again, I was jealous of my friends because they were developing a lot faster than I was. And I had to tell myself that this isn't a race. If you have goals, if you have ambitions, you will get there. You just need to focus on your own path. It's not a race. And when you start thinking of this as a race, that's when you start to feel worried and all this negative emotion starts to come back again. It also gives you opportunity to reflect why you aren't developing as fast as you wish. For example, I recently found out that one of my mates was jealous of me because of how often I was posting artwork, but what she didn't see was also the stuff I wasn't posting online. I was doing a lot of sketching throughout the day and like just overall just working on trying to get better. And because she was only seeing what I was posting, she thought that was the only work I was doing to improve. And that's why I say don't focus on what you see, don't focus on your friends, just focus on yourself because you can control how much you do. And once I explained to her how hard I was working, she seemed to come around and understand that in order for her to achieve a higher amount of development, she has to put in the hours. So just change your mindset around. Instead of thinking, hey, that's not fair, this person's getting a lot more attention, you could say, hey, this person's getting a lot of attention, maybe I can learn from them. Maybe I can see why people like them. Is it a personality trait? Is it a fandom? Is it just their artwork and style? It's just, you can learn from people that are succeeding. Never forget that. And once you start looking towards people as a learning curve, it will force you to experiment and develop your skills overall and broaden your mindset. Jealousy will narrow your mindset because you start to resent people. You start to see them as an enemy and therefore everything they're doing must be avoided. And if you start doing this towards a lot of people, it really narrows down a way to achieve your goal. Like if you don't like this person purely because they're popular, but they have a really awesome technique that you could learn from, and you decide that shut that off because you can do better without that technique, then you're not even going to learn about giving it a try, whether it be like a certain color palette they use or certain line art. Maybe they do really thick line art and you do really thin line art. If you decide that thick line art is bad because it relates back to this artist, then you're never going to give it a shot, are you? So pretty much just stop worrying about where other people are going and just focus on your process. If there's anything I've learned, if you focus on the process, results will come, and it's okay to fail. You can fail so many times because then you can learn how to improve from that. And if you keep succeeding, then you're not learning. You become complacent if you succeed a lot because you never have to worry about the consequence of failing. So if you guys have stories about you feeling jealous, or you had a jealous friend and how you overcame that, or how you're still learning to overcome that, leave a comment below. I'd love to read about it. And if you enjoy this content, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!